changing things, Madam Speaker. The Democrats came in. They were going to try to bring the troops home. They were going to try to end the war. What happened?
Well, we are trying to do that. We have a contrast here between a 10-year, $1 trillion war that the president is proposing, and we're talking about a year that the redeployment begins as soon as safely possible and ends within a year. That's the debate.
But your candidates, your leading candidates, Joy,
well, all the three leading candidates said that they can see this war going on until 2013. Well, Hillary, Barack Obama, and John Edwards all said that.
If you subscribe to that, then that would be your answer. We and the Democrats in the Congress do not subscribe to that. Well, let me speak for the Democrats in the House. Okay. And by the way, we have some bipartisan support, which I think is important. What we're talking about is all the generals tell us, the retired generals, that if you're going to have stability in the region, you must begin by redeploying the troops out of Iraq to end the occupation, to end...
Even though today we had news that the surge is actually working, that civilian deaths in Iraq are down like 53%, with the surge of troops being upwards of 160,000.
Well, it's still a big number. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that, let's say that the surge would work militarily. Mm-hmm. And to whatever, and let me commend our troops, our men and women in uniform. We are deeply, the purpose of the surge. The purpose of the surge was to provide a secure environment in which the political change could take place to end the civil discourse and the violence there. That hasn't happened.
It hasn't, right today.
How much longer? No, it's about the political change that the government must make. The government hasn't made that, even by anybody's standards, including their own and the president's. They haven't met the standard. How much longer should our troops sacrifice their lives when the government of that country is not willing to make the political change necessary?
But how can you turn your head at the percentage of deaths that have gone down when in the past people have been quick to jump on, if there was a surge in deaths, they would say this surge is a failure. But now we're seeing a reduction in those civilian deaths and giving them the space that they do need for that political change that is happening. In my mind, and I'm sure many others, that's seen as a success.
Well, Elizabeth, if I may, with all due respect, there's still a lot of people dying.
Yeah,
there's still a lot of people dying.
Of course.
There's still a lot of people dying.
But we can get away from fighting the war against one another.
Let me just say this about the war, because the cost in lives is, of course, the most important to us. Over 3,800. Tens of thousands permanently injured of our troops. We're talking about a cost in reputation in the world. We're talking about a cost to our readiness to be able to meet any challenges to our security. Mm-hmm. But think of this. Last night I had the honor of receiving the National Breast Cancer Coalition Award. And we talked about that. I was very honored. Faith Hill entertained. It was just fabulous. It was a big honor. And I told them, I said, look, and 40,000 women die each year from breast cancer. Die, not diagnosed, living with, die from it. All cancers, 550,000 Americans. And we spend $5.5 billion on cancer research in a year. 2 weeks in Iraq. That's misplaced priorities.
Absolutely right.
550,000 people die. We can change it, but we have to have the support of the American people to say, of course we will protect the American people whenever our security is threatened. But we are threatened by cancer and other disease, and we have to make a war on that disease.
We need to be able to fight both. I think
Well, I have a question because I feel very strongly that I thought the Democrats were going to be able to get a little more done because I thought there was a little more bipartisan support in there. But my question is, why is it that we cannot seem to have a discourse that doesn't engage in name-calling, doesn't engage in negativity? Because I see it on both sides.
And Nancy doesn't do that.
I didn't say that she did. I was asking whether she...
MoveOn.org.
Well, I won't even say it now.
Well, let me just...
I won't even say it now because she's the Speaker of the House, and that's the person I would ask to say, what can we do? How can we get them to understand? We don't want to hear name-calling. We want to hear what we can do and how we can fix it. That's what I was trying to say.
Absolutely right, and we have done a lot working together. Much of it has been eclipsed by the war debate because that is the biggest issue facing our country. But in terms of what we said we would do going in, drain the swamp, having the strongest ethical bill.
You were going to drain it, you told me.
We did, and the president just signed the bill in September, this past month that we passed in the beginning of the year. But nonetheless, he signed the bill. Bipartisan. This is our ethical standards bill. The lobbyist. Break the link between lobbyist and legislation. Congress is there for the people's interest, not the special lobbyist interest. So that, for one thing, the highest ethical standard, the toughest fiscal discipline, no new deficit spending, and raise the minimum wage, first time in 10 years, biggest increase in veterans benefits in 77-year history of the Veterans Administration, biggest package for assisting students for higher education, biggest package since 1944, the GI Bill of Rights. We've now passed the S-chip bill, which is controversial, the president won't sign it, but we passed it with very strong bipartisan support, and we passed our energy bills that way. But you don't know about it because the war is the big issue. We'll have to talk about it more.
I just want to say, because we're getting time cues.